I'm really happy to advance to the next round. Obviously, it's not in the way I wanted it to end.
Julie, maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court, yes, but again, she's so young and she's just coming through, so the big courts with big names, it's difficult. It's not easy to manage that, but again, it's a good problem to have, to be honest.
This was definitely one of the bigger Filipino turnouts. Also, New York was huge.
Everyone saw the tears at the US Open last August. Eala on her knees, hands over her face, crying on the hard court at Flushing Meadows after becoming the first Filipino in history to win a Grand Slam main draw match. The world called it beautiful, but there is a different set of tears that nobody packaged into a highlight reel. Fast forward to January 2026, Australian Open, Court 6, Melbourne. Eala dominates the opening set, then collapses in the next two as Alicia Parks, a player ranked outside the top 90, completes one of the most stunning reversals of the season. What followed that defeat in the hours and days after was something Kim Clijsters described on her podcast as Eala receiving a lot of hate from her own fan base, from the Philippine public. Analysts questioned her mental fortitude, commentators revisited every weakness on her serve, and people who had called her the future of tennis were suddenly calling her overrated. Clijsters revealed Rafael Nadal, the man who has mentored Eala since she was 13 at his academy in Mallorca, personally spoke out as her protector in the aftermath. That alone tells you how bad it got.
These tournaments are such great experiences for me, especially playing in front of the best crowd ever. And I do my best. I do what I can, and just if I see an opening, I think it's important.
Eala had faced opponents across Grand Slam courts before. None of it hit the way this did. So when rival critics said what they said and the words reached Eala, the emotional weight of it all finally broke through. She had already shown the world she could cry from joy. This was something far heavier. You need to subscribe right now if you want the version of this story that actually holds up to scrutiny.
19-year-old lefty Alex Eala from the Philippines could be the next big thing in pro tennis.
This is the goal
My goal is to be able to integrate myself into the WTA circuit more and to be able to handle myself better on court.
Bolted into the spotlight last month after making the semifinals at one of the biggest pro tennis tournaments in the world.
Here is exactly what was said and when. To understand why this hit Eala the way it did, you need to go back further than January 2026. You need to go back to the version of her that most people forgot about the moment the wins started coming. Eala has been living out of a suitcase in Mallorca, Spain since she was 13 years old. No hometown crowd, no local tournament, no familiar language outside the walls of the Rafael Nadal Academy. She built her game in isolation from the country that now fills entire stadiums to watch her. That context matters enormously when you try to understand what the criticism after the Australian Open actually cost her. Because the people who turned on her were not strangers. They were the closest thing to home she had ever experienced on a tennis court. Fast forward to March 2025. Eala walks onto the hard courts of the Miami Open, ranked outside the top 100. She is not seeded, she is not expected. What she does over the next 2 weeks reshapes the entire conversation around Philippine sports. She defeats Jelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, then stands across the net from world number 2 Iga Swiatek and dismantles her. Watch parties fill malls across Manila. Overseas workers stream matches from living rooms in Dubai, London, and Los Angeles. Eala becomes the most visible Filipino athlete on the global stage since Manny Pacquiao. That is the moment the pressure clock started ticking. Because the higher the pedestal, the more deliberate the fall feels when it comes. June 2025, Eastbourne, England. Eala works through the qualifying rounds on grass, a surface she had barely competed on professionally. She reaches the final. She becomes the first Filipino in the Open era to reach a WTA Tour main event final.
Filipina tennis ace Alex Eala has officially broken into the WTA top 40. Alex Eala is set to compete in the singles and doubles events.
With energy like that, you don't get tired, so it was good.
And Alex, so good to have you out here for the first time. How special was that?
having too much crowd on this or any other tennis tournament is a very good problem to have.
The opponent is Maya Joint, a 19-year-old Australian who had won a clay court title in Rabat just weeks earlier. The match goes 3 sets. Eala wins the second set 6-1. In the tiebreak, she reaches championship point 4 separate times. Joint saves all 4. The tiebreak goes to 12-10. Joint wins the title. Eala receives the runner-up trophy with tears she cannot fully hold back, forcing a smile for the cameras while her eyes say something completely different. The public response is sympathetic. Because she came close, because she fought, because the story still felt like it was building towards something. That goodwill had an expiration date nobody told her about. August 24, 2025, US Open, Grandstand Court at Flushing Meadows, Queens, a neighborhood with one of the largest Filipino communities in the United States. Eala draws 14th seed Clara Teuson in the first round. Teuson is 6 feet tall, serves at pace, and has gone deep in Grand Slams before. Eala wins the first set 6-3. Teuson takes the second 6-2. In the third, Teuson breaks early and races to a 5-1 lead. The match appears over. Eala refuses to accept it. She wins 5 consecutive games, forces a tiebreak, and closes it out 13-11. When the final shot lands out, Eala drops to the court. Her hands cover her face. The tears come immediately, completely unfiltered, completely real. She becomes the first Filipino in history to win a Grand Slam main draw match. The image travels across every platform within hours. Kim Clijsters, watching from outside the tour, takes note not just of the win, but of the weight Eala is beginning to carry publicly. Tony Nadal states that once Eala gets her game fully together, she could be among the best in the world. Mats Wilander calls her someone with hands given by God. These are not casual compliments. These are Grand Slam champions and coaches putting their credibility behind a 19-year-old.
This was definitely one of the bigger Filipino turnouts. Also, New York was huge. It was tough because it also depends what court you're on, that you feel the noise and things.
All the emotions are coming because the tension was so high, especially during that second set. She's a great opponent, obviously being top 10 and a former champion here, so to be able to compete with her at this level is a great achievement for me.
The fan base absorbs all of it as confirmation that Eala should be winning everything now. That is where the problem begins. January 19, 2026, Australian Open main draw debut. Court 6, Melbourne Park. Queues stretch back toward Rod Laver Arena hours before the match. Hundreds of fans who cannot get inside settle for outdoor screens. The atmosphere is described by journalists as soccer-like. Flags, chants, coordinated noise throughout points. Eala's opponent, Alicia Parks, is ranked number 99. Eala takes the first set 6-0 in 22 minutes. The crowd is at a volume that prompts the chair umpire to call for quiet multiple times. Parks, rattled, is seen wiping tears from her face after losing the opener so heavily. Then, something shifts. Parks steadies. Her serve starts landing. Eala begins struggling to hold her own. The same weakness analysts had flagged throughout 2025. Parks wins the second set 6-3 and the third 6-2. Eala, who had dominated for 22 minutes, loses the next 2 sets in under an hour. Some sections of Eala's supporters cheer Parks' errors and double faults, a direct breach of tennis etiquette that Sorana Cirstea had already complained about during Eala's Dubai matches weeks earlier. Parks addresses it after the match, confirming the crowd had made it extremely difficult to stay focused. Eala walks off surrounded by security. She posts a gracious, measured message to fans the following day. Publicly, she is composed. Behind the scenes, it is a different picture. Within hours of the loss, social media fills with a specific kind of commentary. Not the disappointed kind, the accusatory kind. Fans who had been waving flags in Melbourne are now questioning whether Eala is mentally strong enough, whether she is overrated, whether Miami was a fluke, whether her serve means she can never compete at the top level.
Hi, I'm Alex Eala. First is I don't know how to ride a bike. Second, I love watching.
Super happy with the game, how I played. I think she was a tough opponent, and
yeah, tough conditions out there, very hot, but I'm just very happy with the win.
It's Alex Eala here. I just wanted to thank you all so much for the support. The atmosphere these past few days have been completely amazing.
These tournaments are such great experiences for me, you know, especially playing in front of the best crowd ever. And
This is exactly what Kim Clijsters addresses on her Love All podcast in late February 2026. She does not soften it. She confirms Eala received a lot of hate from her fan base and from the broader Philippine public following the Australian Open exit. Then she reveals something that contextualizes just how serious the situation became. Rafael Nadal felt the need to publicly position himself as her protector. Nadal speaking out is not a small gesture. He is a retired 22-time Grand Slam champion who guards his public statements carefully. The fact that he stepped into this situation tells you the noise directed at Eala was significant enough to reach people in her immediate circle and demand a response. Clijsters goes further. She compares Eala's cultural position in the Philippines to Michael Jordan's in America, an athlete so embedded in national identity that every loss becomes a collective wound. She warns explicitly that Eala needs protection from that pressure, not just support. She points out that Eala has been away from home since she was 13, absorbing a level of scrutiny most players her age never encounter, while still actively developing as a tennis player with documented areas needing improvement.
Most of the slams and tournaments, you know, so I mean it's a good sign. I mean, obviously we want more attention, more people coming and wanting to watch the tennis live and follow it.
Process along with the wins, I think that would really touch me.
So young and she's just coming through, so and obviously the first couple rounds the schedule is so packed.
The serve remains the central critique. Tennis fans and commentators throughout February 2026 identify it as the single biggest obstacle between Eala and genuine Grand Slam contention. It is not a cruel observation, it is an accurate one, but the manner in which it gets directed at a 19-year-old repeatedly across multiple platforms, in the immediate aftermath of a painful defeat, crosses from analysis into something far heavier. Eala heard it, the people around her heard it, Nadal heard it enough to respond. In the weeks following the Australian Open, those closest to her confirmed the criticism had reached her, and the emotional toll of it was real and visible to those around her. Eala broke down in tears when the weight of what rival critics said finally hit her. But she did not stay on that court floor. She got up, picked up her racket, and went back to work. What makes this story worth telling beyond the noise is what she did next. She did not disappear. She flew to Dubai, competed in the WTA 1000 event, and defeated Alicia Parks, the same player who had beaten her in Melbourne. She then beat world number 7 Jasmine Paolini and reached the quarterfinals before losing to Coco Gauff.
Another wonderful win for Alexandra Eala. Listen to that noise. Thank you, Jasmine, she says.
Alexandra Eala finds a way and another huge win.
She climbed to a career-high ranking of world number 31. The critics questioned her mental fortitude. She responded on a tennis court. The critics said her serve would always hold her back. She found ways to win despite it. The critics called Miami a fluke. Dubai said otherwise. That is the part of the story that rage-bait titles never finish telling, because resilience is harder to package than a breakdown. If you made it this far, you already know this channel does not do surface-level coverage. We go into the parts of the story that other channels leave at the headline. Eala is one of the most compelling figures in women's tennis right now, not just because of what she wins, but because of what she carries while doing it. There is a lot more to cover as her 2026 season develops, and we will be here for every moment of it. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. Drop your thoughts on Eala in the comments. Whether you think the criticism was fair or completely out of line, we will see you in the next one.